I'm Gray Television's Iowa Political Director Dave Price. Hopefully by now you've either filed your taxes or filed for an extension. Come next year, hundreds of thousands of you could get an additional tax cut as long as Iowa Governor Kim Reynolds signs off on this latest legislation. Now, Republicans, since they have had the trifecta of power at the Iowa State House, have worked to lower taxes in a series of moves. So this last one will change the previous legislation, which would have enacted this flat tax of 3.9% in 2026. But this time, because of the new legislation, starting next January in 2025, it will be 3.8%. Here's what it could mean.
Positive step forward, accelerating the implementation of our flat tax and further cutting where we're going to end up on that lone flat tax. And there's currently still clearly momentum in the legislature to continue lowering Iowa's individual income tax.
You were House Majority Leader. You served for a dozen years. What are the behind the scenes conversations like on something like this? Because to your point, you have part of the Republican caucus that wants to get it to zero, but the majority is basically, well, not yet. We can't get there yet. So what are those conversations like?
I think you're trying to figure out, from the standpoint I had as a legislative leader, was what are the folks in your chamber, in your caucus, where are they at? Engaging, what's the consensus position among your own people? And yes, you can lead and you can present, this is the information, this is the data, we think there's a capacity to go to this number. But it's a lot of time in the closed door meeting with in my time, the House Republican caucus, but it's a lot of one-on-one time with individual members talking through their concerns, explaining to them, here's the numbers, here's why it works. It's a lot of relationship management.
So it's 3.8, this flat tax starting in January of next year. You're talking about billions of dollars in the state budget, and over time, this could be billions of dollars in reductions coming into the state. How can Iowans feel confident that this is not too much?
Well, I can tell you, going back to the idea of what is it like behind the scenes, making sure that those line up, that we're not going to go upside down, or if we do, what's the plan? If we're going to go upside down for a year, we'll use some of this taxpayer relief fund and bridge that gap. These tax bills that have been done, we did the first one in 2018 when I was still there, 21, and then now, or 22, and now this one is always done with an eye on a 5-year projection, to where once these cuts are implemented, the state still has the money to fund its priorities with a reasonable historical growth rate in the state budget.
Why flat tax? Why is that the way to go?
I believe it's fairer, that everyone pays one simple low rate. And then if you adjust from there, everyone benefits. So even folks across the board politically, it was a bipartisan bill that just passed. Both Republicans and Democrats said this will result in a tax savings for even low and middle income Iowans. And so it just makes it simpler for everyone to understand, and everyone pays the same low rate.
So in your mind, as you look at this, can they keep going, and what would that take?
I think they can keep going. They certainly, what their words indicate, they want to keep going. They're talking about continuing to make steps. I think what they're doing is reasonable, in maybe not going as low as some had talked about initially. Is let's pass another smaller cut. It's over $1 billion, so I don't want to call it small, and then see where it happens. Let's go a couple more years out, see where state revenues are, make sure everything continues to work. And if the state continues to collect more in taxes than we need, we can continue to tick down the rate from there. But it's important to remember that all of these tax cuts have been done out of a surplus amount. The state continues to collect over $1 billion more than we need to run state government. And so it's not like some tax cuts, where in the past, maybe at the federal level, where you're trying to starve the beast, or if we cut enough taxes, we can force a shrinking of government. That's not what's going on here. Is that we simply need to right size the budget. You almost have a duty to the taxpayers to not take any more from them than we need.
But they are going to have to, over time, reduce some spending in some areas, aren't they, to make the numbers line up?
I don't believe that that's true. At least from our standpoint, is that if you factor, I don't know the exact number, but this state budget's going to grow some year over year. It inevitably does. And
It's 4% or whatever they're figuring, right?
And then other tax areas are going to grow. I mean, you're going to have the sales tax is going to continue to grow over time, and at least at 3.8, the projections is that 3.8 and what it collects in revenue is enough to fund all of this as far as we can see out.
Time for the final five, which is all about taxes. Number one, there were 10 Democrats in the House and 7 in the Senate who went along with this Republican flat tax plan. Number two, now some Democrats who did not like this said, what about the 500,000 Iowans who don't pay taxes? Where's their relief? They wanted something else. Number three, some of them supported the idea to lower the statewide sales tax by a penny. Republicans did not do that. Number four, by my count, there are 13 other states that have a flat tax. And number five, by my count, there are 9 states that have no statewide income tax. A lot of numbers. Thanks for bearing with us. And thanks for watching Inside Iowa Politics.